Hey everybody, this is Rolanda checking in with you. Remember, I help individuals in small business minimize their tax liability so they can maximize money that stays in their pockets. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what you should look for when you're looking for a paid tax return preparer. There are many tax return preparers around for us to work with, but there are certain things we want to look for when we have a paid tax return preparer. The first thing is you want to make sure that they have what the IRS refers to as a P10. That's a preparer tax identification number. This number is given to them by the IRS or given to us by the IRS to make sure they can identify when we do a return. You want to make sure that anyone you're paying money to prepare your taxes can identify themselves to the IRS. And the way that they identify is what we call a P10. You also want to make sure that your preparer has fees that they're willing to share with you. Avoid tax preparers that will charge you a percentage of your refund. As tax preparers, we should have set fees or at least a base fee that we are willing to share with you and discuss before we're actually starting on your return. Another thing you want to consider is, does your tax preparer offer electronic filing? Well, what is electronic filing? Electronic filing is a way to send your taxes off to the IRS electronically. Literally, they will receive your tax return in minutes after we send them to the IRS. If your tax preparer wants you to mail the tax return and it is a current year tax return, then that tax preparer is not offering electronic filing. Another thing you want to consider, and this is a big one, you want to make sure that your tax preparer is accessible. Generally, our tax year is from January to April 15th, unless we have an extension because of some type of disaster. But if your tax preparer closed down shop at April 15th, you don't hear from them, you may get a letter from the IRS during the summer. And if you don't have someone to talk to, that may put you in a frenzy. You want to make sure that your tax preparer is accessible all year. Many tax professionals should have a way for you to contact them during the off season, what we may call the off season. But actually, if this is our profession, we don't have an off season. Just like you work most of the year, we as tax professionals should work most of the year in some form or fashion to help you if you receive a letter from the IRS, you have questions about your taxes, want to know about estimated taxes. There are different things that come up during the year. So if your tax professional is not accessible all year, you may want to consider your options. Another thing that you want to consider is, especially if you're a business client, you want to make sure that your tax professional is asking you about all records and receipts. If you have a tax professional that's willing to just send your return off electronically and not question you about your receipts or make sure that you have valid proof to give to the IRS, you want to be careful because when you're audited, the IRS is going to want to have receipts. I always like to tell my clients we want to prepare our tax returns as if we're being audited so that when it's time to show proof, we already have proof and we don't have to think about it. Next is you want to make sure that you never sign a blank tax return. Avoid tax preparers that ask you to sign a blank tax form. That's not an option. You want to make sure that you're able to look at your tax return, review your tax return, because in the end, the tax payer is responsible for the tax return they submit to the IRS. As tax professionals, we do have responsibility, but the taxpayer also is certifying that the information is accurate and correct. Review your tax return before you sign it. Again, make sure that your tax preparer has a P10. Make sure that they're charging set service fees. Make sure that they're offering electronic filing. Make sure your tax preparer is accessible all year, not just 4 months out of the year. Make sure your tax preparer is asking you about receipts and records to prove the information you're saying on your tax return. Never sign a blank return. Review your return before signing it. Make sure you understand what's in your return. That's it for now. Look forward to talking to you soon. If you have questions or like to speak to me, schedule an appointment with me and I'd be glad to talk to you. Have a great day.